The massive observation ship of the Zortak Collective hung in Earth's orbit like a spectral leviathan, its quantum-adaptive camouflage rendering it invisible to human detection systems. From the ship's primary observation deck, Captain Zelmak studied holographic displays of Earth's intricate global networks with a mixture of scientific detachment and growing fascination. To the Zortak, humanity was nothing more than a curiosity, a young species teetering on the brink of self-destruction. Centuries of galactic observation had taught them that most emerging civilizations followed a predictable pattern: internal conflict, resource depletion, technological stumbling, and eventual self-annihilation. Earth seemed to be following that exact trajectory. The holographic displays flickered with a kaleidoscope of human activity. News networks showed political debates that devolved into shouting matches. Social media platforms buzzed with conspiracy theories and divisive rhetoric. Economic reports highlighted growing inequality and environmental challenges. To the untrained eye, humanity appeared hopelessly fractured. But Zelmak was no amateur. His tendrils, sophisticated sensory appendages that could detect microscopic changes in electromagnetic fields, twitched with an emotion his species rarely experienced: uncertainty. Sub-Commander Vrix, he called, his translation device converting his native click language into standard galactic communication, analyzed the human communication patterns again. Something feels anomalous. Vrix, a younger member of the observation team, manipulated the holographic displays. Streams of data cascaded around them: internet traffic, satellite communications, underground network transmissions. To human eyes, it would look like incomprehensible chaos. To the Zortak, it was a complex tapestry of information they believed they could easily unravel. In a small coffee shop in Tokyo's bustling Shibuya district, Akira Tanaka didn't know she was about to change everything. A network engineer with an almost supernatural ability to detect digital anomalies, she was working her usual late-night shift, nursing a cup of strong black coffee and reviewing system logs for a multinational tech company. Her fingers moved across the holographic keyboard with practiced efficiency. Most people would see nothing unusual in the endless streams of data. But Akira had always been different. Where others saw noise, she saw patterns. Where others saw randomness, she detected subtle connections. Something caught her eye: a microscopic deviation in the network traffic, so small that most monitoring systems would have dismissed it as a standard packet loss or routing error. But to Akira, it was like a single misplaced brushstroke on a perfect painting. Thousands of kilometers away, in a research facility nestled in the mountains outside Mumbai, Dr. Priya Sharma was experiencing a similar moment of intuition. Her team had been working on advanced communication theory, exploring how complex systems maintain coherence under extreme stress. The facility was a testament to human collaborative potential. Scientists from 18 different countries worked together, their workspace a vibrant mixture of languages, cultures, and scientific disciplines. Quantum physicists worked alongside network engineers. Climatologists collaborated with artificial intelligence specialists. The only common language was their shared curiosity. Back on the Zortak ship, Captain Zelmak made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "Initiate preliminary psychological destabilization protocols," he commanded. The ship's advanced systems began to prepare a multi-layered intervention designed to create subtle disruptions in human society. They believed they were simply preparing the ground for a future intervention, a routine process they had successfully implemented on dozens of emerging civilizations. They had no idea what was coming. In Tokyo, Akira's fingers paused over her keyboard. In Mumbai, Priya looked up from her research, a strange feeling of anticipation settling over her. Something was about to change, fundamentally and irrevocably. The first wave of Zortak intervention was so subtle that most humans would never notice. It began with microscopic manipulations of global communication networks, financial algorithms, and social media platforms. Each intervention was designed to create just enough friction to weaken human social structures without triggering a unified response. In the gleaming control center of the Zortak observation ship, Sub-Commander Vrix monitored the initial stages of the psychological destabilization protocol with clinical precision. Holographic displays showed real-time impacts of their interventions: stock market fluctuations, social media sentiment shifts, communication network anomalies. A global hedge fund in New York suddenly experienced an unexplained market downturn. In London, a critical infrastructure communication system experienced intermittent failures. Social media platforms across multiple continents began to amplify conspiracy theories and divisive content with mathematically impossible synchronicity. The Zortak believed they were masters of subtle manipulation. Their civilization had perfected the art of societal engineering over millennia. To them, humanity was like a complex machine that could be carefully dismantled, piece by piece, without the machine ever realizing it was being taken apart. In a small apartment in Seoul, Jin Ho Park was the first human to consciously detect something was wrong. A cybersecurity expert with an almost preternatural ability to detect network irregularities, he had been monitoring global communication patterns for an international tech consortium. At first, the anomalies seemed random: a slight delay in financial transaction processing, microsecond communication lags that would escape most monitoring systems. But Jin Ho saw the pattern emerging: a subtle, almost imperceptible manipulation that was too precise to be natural. Meanwhile, in the crowded streets of Cairo, Fatima Hassan was experiencing her own moment of realization. A brilliant economist working for an international research institute, she had been tracking global economic indicators. The market fluctuations she was seeing defied all standard economic models. "This isn't natural," she muttered, her fingers flying across her holographic display. Years of economic research had given her an intuitive understanding of market dynamics. These weren't random fluctuations, they were deliberately engineered disruptions. On the Zortak ship, Captain Zelnak watched the initial stages of their intervention with growing satisfaction. Human society was showing exactly the response they had predicted: confusion, increased internal conflict, a gradual erosion of trust in existing institutions. What the aliens didn't realize was that their intervention was having an unexpected effect. Instead of causing complete social breakdown, they were inadvertently triggering humanity's most powerful survival mechanism: collaborative problem-solving. Jin Ho Park began sharing his findings on secure research networks. Fatima Hassan connected with economic researchers across multiple continents. In research labs and tech companies around the world, individuals who had detected microscopic anomalies started comparing notes. The Zortak had a fundamental misunderstanding of human communication. They saw networks as systems to be manipulated. Humans saw them as living, breathing organisms of collective intelligence. Akira Tanaka's initial anomaly detection in Tokyo was now part of a global investigation. Researchers who had never met were creating ad hoc communication channels, sharing data, building complex models to understand the source of the disruptions. What looked like chaos to the Zortak was actually the beginning of a global immune response. Humanity wasn't falling apart. It was preparing to fight back. In the observation ship, Sub-Commander Vrix reported to Captain Zelnak: "Intervention protocols are progressing as predicted. Human social structures are showing expected signs of stress and fragmentation." Zelnak's tentacled features formed what might have been a smile in Zortak physiology. They had no idea that they were about to wake up a sleeping giant. The invisible invasion had begun, and humanity was already mounting a response. The first truly global collaboration began not in a government conference room or a high-security research facility, but in a series of encrypted chat rooms, virtual conference spaces, and impromptu online meetups. Within hours of the first detected anomalies, a network of researchers, technologists, and analysts from every corner of the globe began to assemble. Dr. Priya Sharma's research facility in Mumbai became an unexpected nerve center. What had started as a theoretical exploration of complex communication systems was now ground zero for humanity's first coordinated response to an alien threat. Her team represented a microcosm of human potential. Scientists from 18 different countries, speaking 12 different languages, united by a single purpose. These disruptions are too precise to be random. Priya announced during a virtual briefing that connected researchers from Tokyo to Sao Paulo, from Cape Town to Moscow. Her holographic display showed intricate network maps, each point of interference highlighted in pulsing red. Jin Ho Park shared his findings from Seoul. "It's like someone is playing chess with our global communication infrastructure," he explained, his fingers dancing across a complex three-dimensional data visualization. "But they're making moves that are almost too perfect, too calculated." Fatima Hassan from Cairo added her economic analysis to the growing body of evidence. Financial markets were showing patterns of manipulation that defied standard economic models. Stock exchanges, cryptocurrency networks, international banking systems, all were experiencing microscopic but deliberate interventions. What the Zortak didn't understand was how quickly humans could adapt. Traditional military or governmental responses would have been slow, bureaucratic, fragmented. But this was something entirely different. This was the Internet's immune system coming to life. Hackers who would normally compete began sharing information. Rival tech companies put aside competitive concerns. Universities opened their research networks. What looked like chaos to an outside observer was actually the most sophisticated collaborative effort in human history. In a small apartment in Berlin, a young programmer named Elena Rodriguez was piecing together the first comprehensive model of the alien intervention. She had been awake for 36 hours, fueled by an endless supply of energy drinks and in burning curiosity. Her multiple screens displayed complex algorithms, network maps, and communication patterns that would have looked like nonsense to most people. "It's a language," she muttered to herself, her fingers flying across her neural interface keyboard. "They're trying to communicate something, but they don't understand how we actually communicate." The global team discovered something remarkable. The alien interventions, designed to create division, were actually doing the opposite. They were forcing humanity to collaborate in ways they never had before. Tech companies shared proprietary research. Governments opened classified communication networks. Academic institutions dropped competitive barriers. Akira Tanaka's initial anomaly detection had become the cornerstone of a global investigation. Her small piece of discovered code was now being analyzed by the brightest minds from every continent. What the Zortak saw as a species of individuals, humans saw as a collective intelligence. Dr. Sharma's team developed the first comprehensive model of the alien communication strategy. It wasn't just about disrupting human systems, it was an attempt to understand them. But in trying to understand, the Zortak had fundamentally underestimated human adaptability. "They're studying us like we're a complex machine," Priya explained during a critical briefing. "But we're not a machine. We're a living, breathing, constantly evolving organism." By the end of the first 48 hours, what had started as a potential global crisis had transformed into something else entirely. Humanity wasn't just responding to a threat. It was learning, adapting, growing stronger with each moment of collaboration. On the Zortak observation ship, Captain Zelmak watched the human response with growing confusion. This wasn't in any of their predictive models. This wasn't how emerging civilizations were supposed to behave. Humanity was writing its own rules, and the galaxy was about to take notice. The turning point came with a transmission that the Zortak believed would break humanity's spirit. Instead, it would become the moment the aliens realized they had gravely underestimated the human species. At precisely 3:47 UTC, every communication network on Earth simultaneously received a complex mathematical signal. To most human observers, it would have appeared as nothing more than a strange burst of digital noise. But to the global team of researchers, it was something else entirely, a direct communication from the alien observers. Dr. Priya Sharma was the first to fully decode the message. Her team in Mumbai had been working in shifts, their neural interfaces connected to a massive computational network that spanned 3 continents. When the full translation appeared on their holographic displays, the room went silent. The message was clinical, almost bureaucratic in its delivery. It was an ultimatum, a declaration of the Zortak's intent to manage human civilization. They outlined humanity's perceived weaknesses, internal conflicts, environmental challenges, technological inconsistencies. The aliens presented themselves as benevolent managers, offering to stabilize human development. What happened next was nothing short of remarkable. Instead of fear, the human response was something the Zortak could never have anticipated: collective, sardonic humor. Elena Rodriguez in Berlin was the first to weaponize the alien message. Within minutes, she had created an algorithm that began transforming the serious, threatening communication into increasingly absurd interpretations. Social media platforms exploded with memes, joke translations, and collaborative reinterpretations of the alien ultimatum. Jinho Park's network security team discovered something even more fascinating. The alien communication wasn't just a message, it was a complex probe, designed to analyze human communication patterns. But in attempting to understand humanity, the Zortak had revealed critical vulnerabilities in their own communication systems. Akira Tanaka noticed the first breakthrough. The alien transmission had a predictable mathematical structure, beautiful in its complexity, but ultimately rigid. Humanity's communication, by contrast, was messy, unpredictable, filled with layers of meaning that no standard algorithm could fully decode. "They're trying to understand us like a mathematical problem," Akira explained during an emergency global conference. "But we're not an equation. We're a conversation." The global response team began to develop something unprecedented. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a communication strategy that would fundamentally challenge the Zortak's understanding of intelligence. Fatima Hassan's economic analysis team discovered that the alien intervention had actually created something unexpected. The global collaboration triggered by their manipulation had solved several long-standing international challenges. Research funding was being redistributed. Communication barriers were breaking down. Competitive national interests were giving way to collective problem-solving. On the Zortak observation ship, Captain Zelmak watched in growing confusion. Their carefully constructed intervention was producing results completely opposite to their predictions. Instead of fragmenting human society, they were making it stronger. Sub-Commander Vrix reported the initial findings. "The human response defies all our predictive models," she explained, her translation device struggling to convey the nuanced confusion in her native language. "They are not responding with fear. They are responding with creativity." The alien leadership had a fundamental misunderstanding about power. They saw it as a hierarchical, controllable resource. Humanity understood power as something fluid, collaborative, constantly evolving. By the time the Zortak realized their mistake, it was already too late. Humanity had transformed their intervention into something else entirely, a global moment of unexpected unity. The weapon they had not anticipated was not technological. It was human potential itself. And the galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. The global response evolved into something the Zortak could never have comprehended. A weaponization of human creativity that transcended traditional communication strategies. What began as a serious alien intervention had transformed into a planetary inside joke that was simultaneously a sophisticated counterintelligence operation. Elena Rodriguez's initial algorithmic translation of the alien message spread like wildfire. Internet meme creators, stand-up comedians, and social media influencers became unexpected strategic assets. Each reinterpretation of the alien communication added another layer of complexity that made the original message increasingly unintelligible. In a small animation studio in Sao Paulo, a team of graphic designers created a series of increasingly elaborate memes that decoded fragments of the alien transmission. Each meme was a puzzle piece, a collaborative artwork that simultaneously made fun of the alien communication and extracted critical information about their communication methods. Dr. Priya Sharma's research team discovered something extraordinary. The more humans collectively interpreted the alien message, the more difficult it became for the Zortak to maintain their original communication strategy. Human language, with its idioms, cultural references, and layered meanings, was becoming an impenetrable defense mechanism. They're trying to communicate in straight lines, Priya explained during a global briefing. But we communicate in three-dimensional networks of meaning. Jin Ho Park's cybersecurity team had developed a breakthrough algorithm that turned the alien communication attempts into a massive, distributed intelligence test. Every time the Zortak sent a communication, humans would collectively reinterpret it, creating millions of potential meanings that overwhelmed the aliens' predictive systems. Akira Tanaka took the strategy even further. She developed a neural network approach that treated the alien communication like a massive global improvisation exercise. Social media platforms, online forums, and collaborative document platforms became a living, breathing response mechanism. The Zortak found themselves drowning in an ocean of human creativity. Their sophisticated communication algorithms, designed to analyze and manipulate, began to break down under the weight of human unpredictability. A stand-up comedian in New York turned portions of the alien transmission into a viral comedy routine. A group of high school students in Tokyo created an elaborate role-playing game based on decoding the alien message. Musicians in Berlin composed experimental tracks using the mathematical patterns of the alien communication. What the Zortak saw as a serious intervention, humanity saw as a collaborative art project. On the alien observation ship, Captain Zelmak watched in growing horror. Their carefully constructed communication strategy was being systematically dismantled by a species they had considered primitive and disorganized. Sub-Commander Frix's reports became increasingly frantic. The humans are not just resisting our communication, she explained to the alien leadership. They are transforming it, weaponizing it, turning it into something we cannot comprehend. The global human team had discovered something profound. The aliens' communication was fundamentally linear and hierarchical. Human communication was a living, breathing ecosystem of meaning, constantly shifting, adapting, evolving. Fatima Hassan's economic analysis revealed an unexpected side effect. The global collaboration triggered by the alien intervention was solving real-world problems. International research funding was being redistributed. Communication barriers were breaking down. Competitive national interests were giving way to collective problem-solving. We're not just defending ourselves, Alina Rodriguez noted during a critical strategy session. We're evolving. By the time the Zortak realized the full extent of their miscalculation, it was too late. Humanity had turned their intervention into a planetary performance art piece, a collaborative intelligence test that the aliens were failing spectacularly. The meme heard around the galaxy was more than just a communication strategy. It was a declaration of human potential. And the universe was about to take notice. The next phase of humanity's response defied every predictive model in the Zortak's vast database. What began as a defensive strategy transformed into a comprehensive cultural investigation that would fundamentally challenge the aliens' understanding of intelligence. Dr. Priya Sharma's international research team had been working around the clock, developing a multidisciplinary approach to understanding the alien communication. They weren't just analyzing the mathematical patterns of the Zortak transmission. They were deconstructing the entire conceptual framework of alien thought. They communicate like a machine, Priya explained during a global conference that bridged researchers from 6 continents. We communicate like a living ecosystem. Jin Ho Park's cybersecurity team had discovered something remarkable. The Zortak communication systems had inherent vulnerabilities that stemmed from their rigid hierarchical thinking. Each communication channel was a linear pathway, carefully controlled and monitored. Human communication, by contrast, was a dynamic, ever-changing network with millions of potential pathways. Akira Tanaka took the investigation even deeper. She developed a neural network algorithm that treated the alien communication as a complex language puzzle. By crowdsourcing the analysis, her team created a distributed intelligence platform that could process the alien transmission from countless cultural perspectives simultaneously. Alina Rodriguez's team in Berlin began a more unconventional approach. They started creating elaborate cultural simulations, digital environments that mimicked human social interactions, communication patterns, and creative processes. Each simulation was designed to be completely unpredictable, a direct challenge to the aliens' linear thinking. The global research effort became something more than a defensive strategy. It was a comprehensive exploration of what it meant to be human. Fatima Hassan's economic analysis revealed deeper implications. The global collaboration triggered by the alien intervention was reshaping international relationships. Competitive national interests were giving way to collective problem-solving. Research funding was being redistributed in ways that prioritized global challenges over individual national agendas. On the Zortak observation ship, Captain Zelmak watched with growing concern. Their sophisticated monitoring systems were being overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of human communication. What they had intended as a simple intervention was becoming a comprehensive cultural exchange, but not in any way they had anticipated. Sub-Commander Frix's reports became increasingly desperate. The humans are not just resisting our communication, she explained to the alien leadership. They are learning from it, adapting, growing. The research team discovered that the Zortak's communication was fundamentally based on a hierarchical model of intelligence. Information flowed in carefully controlled channels. Deviation was considered a fundamental threat to their social structure. Human communication, by contrast, was a living, breathing ecosystem. Ideas could emerge from anywhere. A viral meme could be as influential as a scientific paper. A social media post could trigger global policy changes. Creativity was not a deviation. It was the primary mode of communication. Dr. Sharma's team developed a breakthrough simulation that mapped the potential communication pathways of human interaction. The result was a three-dimensional representation that looked more like a complex neural network than a traditional communication diagram. They see information as a resource to be controlled, Priya explained. We see it as something to be shared, transformed, reimagined. The global research effort had become something unprecedented. It was a planetary-scale investigation into the nature of intelligence itself. Every communication from the Zortak was being analyzed, reinterpreted, transformed. What the aliens had intended as a simple intervention was becoming a comprehensive cultural exchange. They were learning more about themselves than they were learning about humanity. By the time the Zortak realized the full extent of their miscalculation, it was already too late. Humanity had turned their communication attempt into a global learning experience, a collaborative investigation into the nature of intelligence itself. The cultural infiltration was complete, and the universe was about to witness something extraordinary. The final confrontation began not with weapons, but with understanding. The Zortak leadership convened an emergency council aboard their massive observation ship, their tentacled forms coiling with a mixture of confusion and growing alarm. Captain Zelmak presented their findings, or rather, their lack of findings. Humanity had transformed every attempted intervention into something completely unrecognizable. They are not a species, Zelmak reported, his translation device struggling to convey the nuanced terror in his native communication. They are a living, adaptive intelligence. Dr. Priya Sharma's global research team had been preparing for this moment. What had started as a defensive strategy had become a comprehensive understanding of not just the alien communication, but the very nature of intelligence itself. Belina Rodriguez had developed the final piece of their collaborative defense, an adaptive algorithm that could simultaneously translate, interpret, and respond to alien communication in ways that would be completely unpredictable. It wasn't a weapon in any traditional sense. It was a communication strategy that treated interaction as a form of collaborative art. Akira Tanaka's neural network had mapped millions of potential communication pathways. Each potential response was a fractal of human creativity, complex, unpredictable, impossible to fully anticipate. The moment of truth came unexpectedly. The Zortak sent what they believed would be their definitive communication, a comprehensive attempt to assert their technological and cultural superiority. It was a message designed to demonstrate the futility of human resistance, a mathematical proof of their dominance. Instead, humanity responded with something the aliens could never have anticipated: a global, collaborative performance. Every research center, every university, every community center became part of a planetary-scale response. Musicians created symphonies based on the alien mathematical transmission. Artists generated visual representations that transformed the communication into living, breathing artworks. Programmers developed interactive experiences that turned the alien message into a global game of collective intelligence. Jinho Park's cybersecurity team had discovered the critical vulnerability in the Zortak communication system. Their hierarchical information transfer left them fundamentally unable to process truly random, creative input. Each human response was a deliberate assault on the aliens' understanding of communication. Fatima Hassan's economic analysis revealed the deeper implications. The global collaboration had solved more real-world problems in weeks than most international efforts had accomplished in decades. Climate research initiatives were fully funded. Educational resources were being redistributed globally. The alien intervention had inadvertently triggered a planetary moment of collective problem-solving. On the observation ship, the Zortak leadership watched in growing horror. Their communication systems began to break down. Each human response was a puzzle that their algorithms couldn't solve. What looked like chaos to the aliens was actually the most sophisticated form of communication imaginable. "They are not responding," Sub-Commander Vrix reported, her voice betraying a hint of panic. "They are transforming our communication." The planetary response was simultaneously a defense, an art project, a scientific investigation, and a declaration of human potential. Dr. Sharma understood the profound nature of what was happening. "We're not just defending ourselves," she explained during a final global briefing. "We're demonstrating the true nature of intelligence. It's not about control. It's about adaptation, connection, creativity." Captain Zelmak made a decision that would be recorded in galactic history. The Zortak would withdraw. Not in defeat, but in a form of respect humanity had never experienced before. The moment of truth was not about winning or losing. It was about understanding. Humanity had shown the galaxy something fundamental about intelligence. It was not a fixed resource to be controlled, but a living, breathing, constantly evolving phenomenon. The universe would never be the same. The withdrawal of the Zortak was not a defeat, but a profound moment of galactic recognition. In the weeks following the confrontation, humanity found itself transformed. The global collaboration that had begun as a response to an alien threat had fundamentally reshaped human civilization. Barriers that had seemed insurmountable, political, economic, cultural, had been dismantled in the crucible of collective problem-solving. Dr. Priya Sharma stood before the first truly global conference, representing a planetary response team that looked nothing like traditional diplomatic gatherings. Scientists sat alongside artists, economists worked with community organizers, and technological innovators collaborated with cultural historians. "We are not who we were before," she told the assembled representatives from every corner of the globe. "The aliens didn't just try to contact us. They helped us understand ourselves." The Zortak communication had inadvertently triggered a planetary transformation. Research funding was now globally distributed. Educational resources were being shared across previous national boundaries. Climate change initiatives that had been stalled for decades were suddenly fully funded and implemented. Akira Tanaka's neural network research had become the foundation of a new form of global communication. The algorithm that had been developed to respond to the alien transmission was now being used to solve complex global challenges, from resource distribution to conflict resolution. Elena Rodriguez's team had transformed the experience into a comprehensive study of intelligence itself. Their research was rewriting understanding of communication, consciousness, and collective problem-solving. The galactic community watched with a mixture of fascination and trepidation. Captain Zelmak's final communication to the Zortak leadership was brief but profound. The humans were to be classified as a critically dangerous species, not because of their technological capabilities, but because of their fundamental approach to existence. They do not see intelligence as a resource to be controlled, Zelnak reported, but as a living ecosystem to be nurtured. Jin Ho Park had become the lead coordinator of the new Global Communication Initiative. The cybersecurity strategies developed during the alien intervention were now being applied to solving some of humanity's most persistent challenges. Fatima Hassan's economic models showed something unprecedented. The global collaboration had created economic opportunities that transcended traditional market structures. Value was now measured not just in monetary terms, but in collective problem-solving potential. The first message sent to the broader galactic community was not a declaration of victory, but an invitation to understand. A message crafted by Dr. Sharma, Alina Rodriguez, Akira Tanaka, Jin Ho Park, and Fatima Hassan, representatives of the Global Response Team. It was simultaneously a scientific communication, an artistic expression, and a philosophical statement. We are not defined by our individual capabilities, the message read, but by our ability to connect, to adapt, to transform. The Zortak observation ship remained in distant orbit, its sensors constantly monitoring the remarkable transformation happening on the planet below. What had begun as a potential invasion had become the most significant cultural exchange in galactic history. Humanity had shown that intelligence was not about control, but about connection. Not about hierarchy, but about network. Not about uniformity, but about diversity. In research labs, community centers, and living rooms around the world, people began to understand the profound nature of what had happened. The alien intervention had been a catalyst, a moment that revealed humanity's true potential. They were not just survivors. They were creators. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again, and humanity was just getting started.